everyone, today we're going to make some French Canadian meat pies. They are called pâtés à la viande, or some people call them traditional tourtières. They, for my family, they're not tourtières. Tourtière, we use a tourtière du Lac Saint-Jean when we make that and call it a tourtière, but pâtés à la viande or meat pies is a traditional dish we usually make every year around the holiday season, and I usually make one or two extra to freeze so we can have them during different occasions throughout the year. It's a very easy recipe. It does require a little bit of preparation, but I will have the recipe linked below, and you just need to follow along and enjoy this great tasting traditional dish of Canada. I have to say other countries or regions have different ways of making meat pies. There's empanadas, we know of those, Spanish pastries filled with meat. There's also other areas, like in Pennsylvania here, we have pasties, which are meat and potatoes filled dough. So a little bit of different traditions all around the world. I'm making today the Quebec traditional, meat pie, or pâté à la viande as we call it. So here we go. For the recipe that I'm making today, I'm making 3 pies. So I have tripled the original recipe. And so I have 3 onions that I have minced. I'm now cooking them until translucent. It's going to take about 5 minutes or so on medium heat. You're going to cook your onions in a little bit of butter until they become transparent. And to that, you're going to then add your meat. What I have is about, for my 3 pies, because I like them well filled, I have about 5 pounds of a mix of ground beef and ground pork. You can use all ground pork, you can use all ground beef, you can use turkey if you prefer, up to you. Again, these pies can be adjusted to your liking. Even the seasoning that we're going to get into in a little bit can be adjusted to your preference. So I have about 5 pounds of ground meat. It's half beef and half pork that I have today, and I'm going to add that to my onions. And once I've incorporated this meat, I'm going to mix it thoroughly, and we're going to let it cook until almost cooked. If you have this tool, it's very helpful to get your meat incorporated and well mixed with your onions. So again, it's going to take about 15 minutes to get this all incorporated and the meat cooked, not quite thoroughly, but almost. Okay, after 10-15 minutes, your mixture is well incorporated. You don't want lumps in it. You want smooth meat pies. And your mixture is going to look something like this, right? Mushed meat and onion. So then you're going to add 1 cup of chicken broth or dry white wine. And I've already done that, I'm sorry. 1 cup of chicken broth. And then you're ready to add your spices as well. Traditional pâté à la viande or meat pie has spices like cinnamon, nutmeg, and ground clove. If you don't like these, do not add them. It's just a different taste. But if you don't want to add these, you don't have to. I recommend trying it once. And then if you don't like them, next time, make them without it. So for a traditional meat pie, you need cinnamon, nutmeg, and ground clove, a teaspoon of each. But if you can get your hands onto these El Mamia spices, I am not sponsored, but I just can't live without those. Every time I go home to Quebec, I have to buy some. They have some for meat pies, they have some for croûtons that I use. It's in another recipe that we're going to be making. Later today, I'm going to make some croûtons actually. I also have spaghetti sauce spices from this company, and they just make great spices, and it makes it a lot easier when cooking them. So I'm using tourtière meat pies, El Mamia spices into my meat pies, but I will have the recipe, as I said, linked with the traditional cinnamon, nutmeg, ground clove, and Grey Poupon Dijon mustard in the comment section. So for my meat pies, I added my chicken broth, and then I'm going to add my spices. And the recipe is on the box on the jar of these El Mamia spices, if you choose to go that way. Once you've added your broth and your spices, then you mix it all together, and again, let it cook for about 10 or 15 minutes. And I just mix the mixture regularly every few minutes or so. Our mixture has again simmered for about 15 minutes, and then we're going to add some diced potatoes. Some pâtés à la viande, some recipes call for either mashed potatoes or diced potatoes. I prefer used small diced potatoes. What I do is I wash them, peel them, and cut them in small dice, and I cook them for about 5 minutes in hot water, drain it, and then I'm ready to add them to my meat pies whenever it's time in my recipe. So now this has simmered for about 15 minutes, and we're going to add our potatoes. It's about one medium potato for each pie. So I have about 3 potatoes, diced potatoes in here. Again, it's small dice, and I dice them before I cook them. So I'm just gonna add those potatoes to my meat mixture. Then I'm just going to incorporate those very well. We're going to let this simmer for a few minutes. Again, just to incorporate everything together. And then what we do is I turn off my heat, put a lid on, and you can let it rest and cool right there. Or you can also, I take it outside. It cools off faster, and then I'm ready to put my meat pies together. Okay, once your mixture is cooled, you can go ahead and proceed with building your pies. As far as crust, you can use store-bought crust, or you can make your own. If you have a favorite crust recipe, feel free to use it. Each pie will need 2 crusts. So I'm going to build one, and I will take my pie crust and go ahead and add it to my pie plate. And don't throw away the leftover crust, right? You can make also different kinds of desserts with that, like pâtés de sœur, which I'm going to make after this, but don't discard the dough. So once you have made it put your crust into your plate, I go ahead and puncture it with a fork a little bit, and I add my meat mixture to that. I like mine pretty full, so what I have here in my pot, I'm gonna divide into 3 pies. Once you've filled your pie crust, you go ahead and put your other crust right on top. I put a few holes onto my crust before I put it on top. And then you're ready to cut your crusts. If you know a fancy way to close your pies, go for it at this time. I think the easiest way to do this is to use a fork. So that's what I'm going to use right here. Again, you put this aside and close your pie. Then I take a mixture of egg and some milk. Once you've put your egg yolk and milk mixture onto your pie, they're ready to bake at 375 degrees. It will take 30 to 50 minutes. You kind of have to watch them. And this is until the top crust is nice and golden brown. I will continue to fill my pies. I will make 3 of them and bake them, and they can be put into the freezer if they're well wrapped afterwards. So you let them cool down completely after you've baked them, and you can put them in the freezer or enjoy one right away. I'm skipping ahead here because I realized while editing that I never showed the pies after they had baked. So here they are after baking. It took 50 minutes for me to bake these pies. As I said, it could be 30 to 50 minutes. They are golden brown. You can let them cool and then freeze them, or you can eat them right away after baking. They are so delicious and they smell so good while they cook. Canadian pâté à la viande. Enjoy. Let me know what you think.